Hey there, welcome to this episode. I want to briefly talk about the concept behind how an MPC works. We don't need to deep dive, we're going to be covering it all throughout the tutorial series, but it's good to have a basic understanding of how an MPC works because it is unique, although there are some things that are the same on other samplers, the SP-404 Mark II Koala sampler, and even your DAW, the MPC is its own animal. When we look at an MPC 3.0, I look at it as three basic elements. We have on our top bar here, the project. That's just like coming from a DAW, from any other piece of gear. There is always a save file, a home, a house, whatever you want to call it, where everything is saved for that project. So it's no different working on an MPC. Within that is the first element. The second element is sequences. So within your project, you're going to have sequences. Those sequences can be one long sequence that makes up your track, or it can be multiple sequences, which you can look at like building blocks that you can chain together in multiple different ways. If it doesn't make sense now by the end of the tutorial series, it certainly will. But that's really what you've got. You've got one element is the project. Within the project, you have your sequences. If you're familiar with Ableton, you could look at those as like the clips, the loops that you can trigger if you want to do it as building blocks. For the sequences, you then have tracks. They're the musical elements to whatever you're working on. So one track might be your drums, one track might be a synth or samples, vocals, whatever it happens to be. And again, we're going to go through track types throughout this series, so don't worry if you don't get it right now. But that's really, in a nutshell, how it works. Three basic elements where you have your project. Inside that project, you have your sequences. And for those sequences, you have tracks. It's as simple as that. Very briefly, before I end this episode, I want to talk to those users that are coming from the older MPC range, or even an MPC that uses 2.15, and you're finally making the leap over to 3.0. The key difference here is that you used to have four elements, is how you could look at it. You would have your project, which was the same. You would have sequences, but you used to have tracks and programs as separate elements. And with 3.0, they've done away with the concept of the program. The program has disappeared, and it's now just tracks. But all that really means is that they've just combine the two, because if you're familiar with program edit and changing all of your programs and stuff, it still exists, and for the most part it looks generally the same. It's just now called track edit because rather than having these separate elements, they've combined them down. Hopefully all of that will make sense as we progress through this series. I'll see you guys in the next episode.